Welcome to the Open Books Podcast, where we discuss all things going on in the real estate industry, helping you take the road less traveled to real estate success, guiding you to the top 10%. I'm your co-host, Curtis Haddock, alongside my co-hosts, Casey Tudor and Brooke Massey, and we have a special guest here for you today, Elizabeth. I don't know what Hansen.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, look at me
like
go!
the band.
Look at me go!
Mm-hmm.
I'm just used to just saying, okay, is everyone gonna use Elizabeth for pictures? Elizabeth for pictures,
Yeah.
you know, Elizabeth Hansen. And the name of you want to tell everyone the name of your company?
My company is Eliora Media.
Eliora Media. She is the best photographer in Oklahoma City. Do you go anywhere else or just Oklahoma
Edmond.
City?
I really appreciate that
Oklahoma
you
City
say
Metro.
that. Yeah.
Well, we probably shouldn't.
Don't say that, then she's gonna get
I
really
know.
busy.
We probably shouldn't.
Can I have like your priority list?
Like she's actually not that good, guys.
Yeah.
She's terrible. That's why we have her on this podcast.
Yeah. You
Trying to
know,
improve.
I wouldn't hire her, and then if you come to our brokerage, then
Then you can hire her.
Then hire her. Yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah. No, she's really, really good. She does a lot of things that other photographers don't do. And what we're going to talk about today is how important photos are to your listings. Right?
Yes,
Would
that
you
is
agree?
correct, Curtis.
That is what we're talking
concur.
about. That is why we have her on, right?
That's right.
We're not talking about like, I couldn't think of something fast enough.
Golf?
But, yeah, golf.
No.
Are you a golfer?
Oh, gosh. I couldn't. No. I love outside, but no.
She
I'm
can-
terrible at getting that little ball in a hole, and that's the point. So
Yeah.
But you could photograph.
I
People
could.
playing golf.
I could.
Nice.
Yes.
Well, I kind of like it because kind of the 1st
You're
thing.
hired.
Let's lead way into what we're going with, right? But what
Lead us, Brooke. Lead us with.
I'm on it, I'm on
Yeah,
Go.
what's the bullet points that you sent me I didn't read?
just essential like techniques and stuff like that. Like, what is real estate photography, and really like why do you think it's so important? Because you see different types of photos. You see good, you see bad. Like, what as real estate agents do they need to know, like techniques wise, that why it's so different?
Okay. Well, I can start by saying I'm super thankful that for nearly everybody, cell phones are done. Like, you hardly ever see cell phone pictures on any kind of MLS searching site. So I'm thankful for that.
Good.
Because
During COVID, though, you might have seen a couple.
Oh, well, yeah, COVID
you know,
was different.
It was a seller's
but-
market. They're like, oh, I don't
Yes.
have to pay. This is going to sell just with one
Yes.
picture.
Yeah,
But
true.
But still, we
True.
still told everyone to pay for pictures because
Consistency is key in
and you
your
don't
brand.
you don't want to be the reason that you don't get your seller 20,000 over ask or
Well, and
whatever.
that's
you know?
that's kind of your resume too. Sometimes I've had clients that are like, I've looked up your past listings that you
Yeah,
sold.
that too.
How they find it, I don't know, but
Okay,
Oh,
so
easy. So I look up agents if they're new to me. I look them up and see, and it's pretty easy to do. So yeah, I say that anybody who's selling a house and anybody who's wanting to build a business as a realtor, you're wanting to have a beautiful portfolio. That's going to start with pictures. Like, this is audio, but photos are visual. And most buyers, when they talk to a buyer's agent, they almost always know what houses they want to look at because they've already gone on realtor.com or Zillow or Redfin or whatever search site they're using. And they're like, these are the 6 houses I want. Well, what are you going to do to make your house be one of those 6?
Yeah.
And how likely is the buyer's agent going to be like, well, those are great, but let's see if we can find some more. They might. And they might find something that fits in the criteria when it comes to price, number of bedrooms, location, all of that. But when they send that house over to their potential buyer and it doesn't look very good, they're going to be, well, why do I want to look at this when it looks like that? So I feel like today, and especially in Oklahoma City, with as many people that are coming into our city from out of state, the only
that's a
way that
good
they're
point.
looking at houses is online because they
Yeah.
can't walk in. So if they have one weekend where they get to look at houses, and that weekend is the weekend they need to put a down payment on something, don't you want your house to be that one?
Yes,
Yeah,
every time.
Yeah, and I think that first impressions matter, and they go a long way. And if you are listing a house, the first impression is your pictures.
Right.
And I think that you can differentiate yourself from other realtors if you take good pictures.
Well, yeah, because if your house isn't selling, you can't. Like, I don't want my sellers to blame anything in particular. Like maybe it's this, maybe it's that. Well, you don't want to have to reshoot your photos.
No.
And so, because some clients like, can we use my photographer or my? I did do this once. My friend was like, "Oh, my wife's a photographer and she's super excited about shooting her house." And I was like, "Eh." And then
Real estate photography is totally different.
Bad.
Yeah.
And we ended up selling it, thankfully. But like, I would have hated to have that conversation of we need to reshoot the photos because your wife sucks.
Yeah.
That real estate photography.
That kind of happened with your wife, right? I
Yeah,
mean, it was
because she was like thinking about it,
Yeah.
and you gave me your house, and it was my very first listing and stuff, and so
and we wanted
kinda
to
just
try to help
try it all
Brittany
out.
get
Yep.
training and stuff, and she learned quickly that it was just two totally different worlds.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people
Yeah.
pictures and object pictures are just different.
Oh yes.
Well, then,
yes.
then even baby photos are different than portraits. You know, it's a different skill level.
Oh,
Not-
absolutely.
Not the same thing, Casey.
You gotta
I'm just
get
kidding.
babies to
Photography
do
is-
different things.
Photography is an art, and we've talked about it too, just talking about the differences, and everyone just has different styles. But shooting indoors is, I feel like, one of the hardest things to do, especially if you're photographing a house that all the walls are painted like dark maroon or something like that. I feel like that's probably the hardest picture to really
yellow.
pop or make really
Yeah.
good, you know?
Purple
But you still
and
make it look good.
turquoise. Like okay, so I just shot a house for Casey, and it was a vacant house, but they decided to paint the kitchen yellow, and it wasn't a pretty butter yellow that's muted. It was bright skittle yellow, and the
Skittle yellow, I like
yeah,
I like it.
The purple for bedrooms, pink stripes in like what would be the office.
Yeah.
I mean it's. But how do you do that?
And their whole thing is like, oh yeah, we just freshly painted everything, and we're
Wait,
like,
they had they
did it. It was all like light tan
like in
before.
preparation of selling the
No,
house.
they did it for themselves,
Okay,
but
okay.
they're saying fresh paint, and it's like,
Well,
yeah,
and then when you tell them that the paint needs to change, they're like, well, let's just wait and let the buyers they could pick their own paint colors out. We want them to pick their own out.
Some
And,
people just want to move into the gray wall house, though, too.
Well, I would say the majority of people want to move in ready. They don't want to buy a house and immediately have
paint
work
it.
to do before you can move in. And so it's always best to just have the house in the condition ready to go for someone to move in. Even if somebody does want a yellow kitchen and pink striped office, I would still say you don't know if that buyer is going to buy your house. They need to go ahead and paint those walls, and then that buyer can repaint them the color that they want when they come in. Because
Even
you're
if
trying
it's
to,
the latest TikTok trend, don't do it.
you're trying to appeal to the majority, not just that specific buyer. Anyway, that had anything to do with photography.
Well,
Well,
it does because honestly, I track all of the houses. So every house that I photograph, I use Zillow. I know that is the Z word in
It's
real
okay.
estate
you have
land.
to, you have to
Z word.
bleep that out.
But I
yeah,
use
just
it
bleep that
because
out.
as a person who's a consumer, it's so easy. And
Yeah.
that's why consumers use
Absolutely.
it. And so I track every single house. As soon as a house goes pending or is under contract, it sends me an email. And then I send my agent, hey, congratulations. Great job on getting it under contract. Now let's
I
get
love
it
that,
sold.
by the way.
Okay, good. I wasn't sure. But and
When
then
you're
when
done, I'm
it's
going
sold,
to touch on that stuff. When
Not
you're
for
done.
me. I love that you do that in general, like for the agent. So
Yeah.
especially like a new agent or
like
whatever,
Haley, she
or
was
just
so
anybody.
encouraged. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So because it is milestones and they are hard accomplishments, and going from pending to sold is a long process. So when you get that text of congratulations, because honestly, I feel like when you're driving down the road and you just sold a house, you just left the title company, and it's your first one, and you're like, the whole world has changed for you because you did something that was really hard, but nobody knows about it except for maybe your team members. And you get some random text of like, congratulations, you did a great job, you made it. I feel like that anytime we can encourage people,
Yes,
it's
yeah.
a good
You
thing.
should.
Yeah,
That's
well, and
that's
it's top of mind for
smart.
you too. It's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, she helped me do that. So who referred you to me? I can't remember.
It was Bill Level. You guys knew each other before.
That's right.
The K word. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
we have lots of
and then
words.
She reached out to both of us at the same time. I think I was on vacation, and then by the time I saw the email, you had already said, "Hey, we're meeting with Elizabeth next week or something like that." I can't remember.
So I'm a very loyal person when I get a solid vendor.
Yeah.
And because what the public may not understand is your realtor is only as good as
They're vendors.
their vendors and who they have connections to, and who's going to show up and be fair on pricing. And
It's about being resourceful.
If you can feel good about just handing someone a key and letting them in your house to do the job, like
Yes.
that goes so far. And so I'm very resistant to take on anyone new if I've already got someone for the job. And so I did, and so I was like, okay. And I told Elizabeth, I said, well, I'm really loyal to my person.
But
She does a great job.
we had always had a little contention when it comes to pictures before Elizabeth.
There's a history there because we had a good deal, and they
You
still
know.
offer that kind of deal, by the way.
Yeah.
But to me, it's not worth it because, anyways, that's another story for another day.
But it was even the quality of the pictures, like that, like what you liked versus what I liked, and who you were like. We were recommending different people, and as business owners, that's like a big no for
You need
us. Like we
consistency.
really want to be recommending the same person to all of our agents, so
Yeah.
we're speaking the same language, and so
Because we're just
it
as strong
was-
as our vendors around us,
Yeah,
right?
it was-
Same concept.
It was a huge blessing
Yeah.
that Elizabeth turned out to be good.
Yeah, so I told her that I was really loyal and I probably wasn't going to use her unless something happened. And then, but I was like, I want to hear what you have to say and show me. And then she showed me her pictures, and sorry to my previous
couldn't unsee it.
photographers, but it was much better. And so I tried her out at my new listing, and it went really well. And
and that
then here we
listing
are.
was, if I was to say what was my most difficult listing, it was your first
and
one
it was
we
Mike
worked for.
McGahan's flip that he did. That was kind of a nightmare, and he didn't make any money on that deal.
Why
I
was
think
it
he
hard?
actually
Like,
lost some.
Did it have maroon walls too?
No, it was beautiful inside, but
Really
when I
interesting home.
arrived, there were still contractors working, so their contractor vehicles were all on the outside.
Yeah, and they couldn't move them because the guys are gone.
So my
They
question
had left and the
is,
keys were with them, and so
were
the guys.
you there for 3 hours?
so my question is, what made you want to continue working with this guy? Because he
Well,
put you in that position.
yeah.
Wait to have pictures until they're done.
And as we're standing in the living room, there's a bam, and we look over, and the guy was there's also someone mowing
Yeah.
while we're there.
Why did you schedule pictures at this time? That's what I want to know. It was the only
because
time you could do it.
Because my friend Mike had told me the home was prepped and ready.
Yeah. Well, and you had your
Sometimes you have to
interior
show up and
decorator.
just do what you gotta do.
Your gal that's your interior decorator. She was there at the time.
Lindsay Beeman was there.
Yep. So, and we had cleaners there. Like everybody was there. It was a party.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They were cleaning, and so Elizabeth is washing windows.
Oh, I'm picking up glass.
Because
Be careful.
Yeah,
now
because
she's selling
the
those
guy
kind of
mowing-
services for pictures.
The guy mowing the yard kicked up a rock and shattered the window. Like, I'm like, well, now what? She's like,
While
we can-
you were there?
Yeah.
before we took the pictures of the.
Oh my
house.
gosh! I would
Thankfully-
be like, I'm not working with this
But
guy
see,
ever
we're
again.
going-
that was honestly like just a match meant to happen, because then you got to see what
Oh,
Elizabeth
that's a
was
good
capable
point.
of doing
Sure.
with the chaos.
And I'm just like, I'm so sorry.
Well, and I want to say that this is a good lesson to everybody out there as to why it pays to, even if you are loyal to what your brokerage, your vendors, your relationships, like it pays to talk to people and meet people and hear them
Always.
out and see what they do different. Because even if you don't, like, just because you meet with somebody doesn't mean you have to switch and use them.
You could learn something from somebody and take it to the person you're loyal to and help
Right,
them
and
out.
say, hey,
because that means
can
you're
you
returning
do this?
loyalty.
Right? Can you do this? And if they say no and they're not willing to, okay, well then you may think about switching.
And
But
to me, most importantly, is I cannot afford mentally or emotionally and time wise to manage or babysit a vendor.
No, they
Which is
They're
why, so that's what I was talking
special,
about. So like whenever Elizabeth sends those texts, like congratulations, these are top of mind things. She's actually running a business,
Yes.
and not
It
just
makes you look good too.
It makes me look better. And she's not just coming to shoot a house and be like, okay, I'll send the pictures to you. So when she was out of town, I had to hire another photographer. He did a decent job, but he did not we even talked about hand blending the photos because that's what I wanted.
What is hand
Did
blending?
he not do it?
He did, but he did not do them for
Okay.
the bedrooms.
I think our audience needs to know
So
what hand blending
are
is.
you, I'll
We'll let
explain.
him know.
Well, I'll let Elizabeth explain. So it's like, so do you think I'm a sucker? Like that I'm just not going to notice that?
Well,
do
you
you
know what's
want me to call you back?
You know what's
Like,
crazy about that is
what?
that
4 years? Did you use the same person? And he
well, yeah,
handled
because
yours?
we use the same person. I haven't seen the pictures because it was for one of my team members.
Is it listed?
I don't know the address, Casey. I forgot the address.
Dang, that's going to
No,
make
it would be.
Is it Jordan Binge?
Yeah, it's his. He'd be that. That was his first
I can
one.
find it.
Yeah, find that one. So see if we did, because I even said to him like that's why we reached out to him is because you told Casey you could do that and that's what we want. It was hard with you being on
Yeah, you can't do
vacation.
that
You can't-
again.
Yeah, you're not allowed to go on vacation anymore.
Sorry.
Oh, we planned our listings around it, so
Yeah,
maybe you should just run your business better. I'm just kidding.
Well, you can't help when you convert a FISBO. You know?
That's true.
Oh, yeah.
You converted it that week.
Why is there snow in the yard? No, I'm kidding.
I was like, what?
Okay, can you explain
Yeah.
to us?
Explain
Yes.
hand blending.
Hand
yeah.
blending is.
You know what this is, Brooke.
Probably.
Yeah. Well, so your best, I would say the most, well, I do it for all of them, but it's really clear in the two houses that were in the cul-de-sac that I did for you.
Oh, yeah.
So when you're inside a house and you're looking out the windows, you can see clearly out the windows. But when you're using photography, to be able to get this bright enough,
bright, yeah.
it usually washes out the windows so they just look white. So a lot of photographers will either close blinds or never shoot towards windows so that way it doesn't look washed out. Hand blending is something where you take multiple photographs with the camera on a tripod in the same place. You do underexposed, adexposed, and
Is
overexposed.
it the same as stacking
Well, it's called bracketing.
or bracketing?
But
Yeah,
that is what
bracketing.
that is.
Okay.
You should know this.
Well, I know what bracketing is.
I'm teasing you.
Yeah, so it's bracketing. And with bracketing, you take the underexposed, which makes the windows look beautiful, and then it's in Photoshop, it's masking. You take those windows and you put them on top of the photo where everything is nice and
Right.
bright.
Yeah.
And then you have the middle layer that gives you the more realistic effect so that way it doesn't just look like a 3D rendering from AutoCAD.
Sure. So, how much time does that add for you to do that? Would you say?
Well, I actually have a team that I work with also. So I have a person that I hire, and he does all of the hand blending stuff with Photoshop.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
And so that way, when I get the photos back from him, I use Lightroom and I make everything tweaked so
Gotcha.
that way it's deliverable. Because even though Photoshop does a lot, sometimes things are oversaturated and I have to bring that down. Or the exposures may be too high and I bring that down, or not high enough,
Gotcha.
I bring it up. So there's lots of things. If there's items removals, like Ben, he had a big dumpster in front of the house that was ready.
Yeah, yeah.
So
It happens. It happens,
it
right?
happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, a roll off. And so my editor, he'll do the big stuff like that. But if it's like a trash, because I always try to move the trash cans because it takes seconds to do.
Right.
But sometimes, even if I push it back, I still see a little bit of it.
Sure. Mhm.
So the smaller things, then I edit out. So he does all the big stuff with Photoshop. I do the fine tuning with Lightroom before they're delivered.
Well,
Okay.
whenever you are at the house and you're taking the pictures, how much time does that add to you to get the extra exposure pictures, like with the different exposures?
Nothing.
It takes,
So
it
was
takes
those-
less time now than it used to.
But
I've
yet-
noticed.
Well, but I was gonna say, but other photographers won't do it. I asked the owner of another last week because we had to, or 2 weeks ago, whenever she was on vacation. I asked the owner if we could get hand blending. I was like, does anybody at your company do hand blending? And this is a company that has 20, 25 photographers, maybe. I don't know how many they have. And said the answer was no, we don't do that. And it wasn't Like,
it's like, why?
It wasn't like, we'll we have a couple guys, or that we'll look at adding that for you, or and he knows who we are, and
That's like a realtor saying, I'm not going to move anything in the in the house before pictures.
Well,
to
I was
help
going to
prep
say
it
that's our
because-
next topic.
Okay, yeah. So I'm not going to do that because that's not my job. I told them to do that. They didn't do it. So therefore, it's going to be in the picture. That's their problem, not mine.
So on that note, why do you
Really?
what do you got to do to prep a house for
Yeah,
for
like
pictures?
staging, preparation,
Why-
like things
and
as a
why
real
is that
estate.
important?
Things as a real estate agent we should do, and maybe you can chime in too of like what you would like real estate agents, or what you like to see, or what really helps you best too.
Okay, that's a good question. So space. In real estate, you're selling space. So typically, we're not selling what's on the mantle, because that's going to be packed up and shipped away. You don't want it to look cluttery, but we're not focusing on that. We're focusing on space. So when you
like
go
that.
into a home and there's a fireplace, maybe a corner fireplace, try to not have a couch in front of it or a chair. Even if it's a nice chair that was really expensive, people aren't going to be getting that chair when they buy that house.
Yeah.
They're going to be getting the fireplace, though. And we want to have it look as spacious as possible. So have things cleared away from stuff that's going to stay with the house.
So that brings me to a question I have for you. And I know what my answer is, but I'm
I do
curious.
too.
I'm curious to what your answer is. You know where I'm going with this?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, would you rather...
It's not time for that. I'm kidding.
That's a good one, Casey. Would you rather photograph a house that is vacant or that is even
staged.
just staged,
Like my house
you know?
was.
Oh,
Yeah.
all day long, a staged house.
I agree.
A furnished house all day
Curtis
long.
disagrees.
And the reason is because it tells a story. And people love the story of a home. And that's, unless it's a rental property, unless it's an investment property, unless it's something like that. If it's designed, if you're selling it, if you're marketing it in your little blurb that you put about the house, about this is a great home, has a great neighborhood, these are the schools. If you're selling it as a home for a family, having it lightly staged, not overly stuffed, but lightly staged, tells the story about what somebody
So-
can have when they move in.
I could get on board with the lightly staged, and like if someone is professionally lightly staging it. Where I have an issue is I think it's easier for me as a realtor, it's way easier for me to sell a vacant property than a property that's being lived in with people's stuff, you know? And the pictures too, like it's normally not like, it's not a professional, like people's stuff is not professional, like staging, if that makes sense.
Right.
So
yeah, that's a good point.
So I'm not. So if we're
So
talking
you're
like,
not talking about professional staging.
we're
You're just
getting-
talking about staging people's stuff.
I'm just
people's
talking
stuff.
about if you're like, is it better to? Would you rather? And then maybe the answer is the same. But would you rather have to work around people's lived-in stuff? It's not professionally staged, or be vacant to get the shots of the fireplace and different. Because I feel like if you take the right angle picture, you can make things look big, lots of storage. I mean, you can see the house, and I just think people have a hard time. Most people have a hard time envisioning things, and so I feel like when it's empty, it's a blank canvas where all they have to do now is put their stuff in their mentally in the house, versus if someone else's stuff is there, they have to mentally pull that stuff out and then put their stuff in. And I think it's harder for people to do that. But if you stage it right, yes, I think that the pictures would be better. But most of the time when I'm looking at the MLS, it is not what your house was, what we're talking about. So, do you think that makes a difference? Like, would you rather have to stage, I guess, with people's stuff still?
So there's multiple answers to that, because it's not really a yes or no. I also understand that with bricks, your philosophy is less is more.
Yes.
So you like to have maybe 10 photos on the MLS, and then that way you pique the people's interest, they make an appointment to see it, and they come in and see it. With that perspective, vacant is easy, because you're being able to get just one or two of the living room, one or two of the kitchen, one of each bedroom, one of the front, one of the back, and that's what you want. So with that perspective, vacant is easy. With the
If they can even vacate.
right, exactly. With scale, though, it's sometimes hard to see how big a room is. Like the living room might be massive, but if you have nothing in there to ground it or to give it some sense of scale, it's hard to tell from a photo that it is as big as it is.
I've shown a house recently that was empty, and I go, why would the builder ever build this way? Like, there's nowhere to put furniture anywhere in here. And then they did some virtual staging, and then I saw, I'm like, oh,
yeah.
that can work.
Yeah.
Or the other side of this is I'll go into a really large living room, and people go, well, where would I put my furniture? And I'm like, I mean, literally anywhere you want.
Yeah.
Any wall will work here.
But when you give people too many options, like their brain gets fried.
Yeah.
That depends on the
I'll
client,
say,
too.
like, in my experience from, like, and this going back to the grocery store days, but, like, teaching people how to merchandise. And if you guys don't know what merchandising is, like, it's literally a blank slate. So imagine a grocery store floor, and now you got to imagine
Where it's
how
all
to
gonna
build
go.
a display and where you should put it. And there's a lot to it. There's so many people that do not know how to do that.
Yeah, and training someone is hard, yeah.
It's so hard. You either have it or you don't. And it's like, you either can envision it or you can't envision it.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's like a 50-50 for most people. Probably like a 70-30, where 30% of people can really envision. But it just depends on the house, though, too. Like, if it's most builders, like cookie cutter, like, you can pretty much see that you have you can put a sectional right here, or a couch and a love seat right here, the coffee table, the dining room table. But then there's some houses, like the one we just shot, it was like almost 4,000 square foot. There's just like a bazillion sitting areas. So it was like, I was thankful that he had some stuff that he could put here and there. It's just so people could envision it a little bit.
Yeah, if I could have it my way, I would want there to be some light staging, but light staging.
Yeah, just to make it
You
make sense of like just like
Because
a couch.
I don't want people.
Yeah, you don't even need a TV.
Yeah,
No,
I don't
you don't
want
need
it
none
to-
of that.
Coffee table and a side
Yes,
chair.
that's what I'm talking about, because
Yeah.
less is more, bigger is better is what I always tell people.
Yeah.
And if you start putting a bunch of stuff in there, it then it goes to looking too cluttered.
Yeah.
And like just like what you said with the like a fireplace or the mantle, like, we're not selling the stuff, right? And so I tell people,
Showcase the
just
house.
get rid of everything off of the mantle. Like, your staging, your preference, your religious stuff on the wall, your
Boomer Sooner stuff on
your
the wall.
sports
Yeah.
stuff, your picture, your family pictures. Like, people are gonna walk into the house, and we're selling emotion. Like,
I was going to say
and a
emotions.
feeling. And if their emotions, if they walk in and they immediately feel like they're intruding on somebody else's life, then as they're looking at the house, they're not gonna be as comfortable as you could help them be when they're looking, right? And if you can make people feel comfortable the moment they walk in the door, then that could start to feel like a home, that their home, not your home, but their home. And so I feel like it's important to remember, and when I'm talking to clients, is like, just all your personal effects, just get rid of them. Like I have people talk about, well, I make coffee every day. That's fine, but for pictures, get it out of here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
put your CPAP mask up, please.
Yeah.
Pictures are so important, and you gotta set super hard expectations with your sellers. And I mean, even listening to the stories that we're talking about, I mean, there's times where they say they're ready and they're just not, because some people just don't understand it. But
Or
making
they're
sure
mowing the yard when you get there. They just started mowing. I'll be done in 30 minutes.
Or vacuuming.
Yes.
I get a lot of that
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Vacuuming, I feel like
Those
is
are
okay.
those are the procrastinators, you know?
Yeah,
But
well,
that-
I get vacuuming because I probably would be one, because I have animals too. But I'd be like, let me vacuum last minute,
Yeah.
like as you're walking in the door. But everything else would be
Be
done.
careful with that, not for photos because you can't smell the photos. But be careful with your clients vacuuming before showings, because if they have animals, it will pull the smell out, and then you will walk
blow it
into the
and
smell.
blow it everywhere.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Like, you're painting, or talking about emotions. You're painting a picture so set the expectations with your sellers. I always tell everyone, like, your house needs to look the absolute best on picture day. At this point, I care about showings, but I need it to look immaculate on picture day. And then, because then when we put it online, we're painting emotions, right? If I have excellent photos, we're in a world of social media. Everyone lives on our phones every single day. And our minds, well, if we don't like what we're looking at, we swipe, we move, we just move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
And so if you have good pictures, I want people to stop and be impressed, and they love it. They're already forming that emotion. And then as we're talking about what Curtis and Casey are talking about when they're going into the house, well, now you got to include other senses, because all of your different senses, sight, sound, smells, like it all creates emotions inside of us. So if it's a busy road next to us, right, that's going to start an emotion. If they walk in and now it smells like dog, now it creates an emotion. And it could have been amazing online, but you're painting a whole picture.
Yeah.
And
that's where,
oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, that's where Casey, like, I learn a lot from everybody I work with, but especially you two. And Casey, one of the things that you had told me early on is that you feel like pictures, and I agree, pictures sell a showing, but the house sells the house. And that's where as soon as you walk in and you open up that door, if it smells like cigarette smoke or wet dog or cat litter, a person has already decided whether or not they're going to walk through and go through all of this and how long they're going to spend in there. Because if it's an offensive odor, they're not going to spend much time, and it's done. Like, that house is done. So it's really, really hard, because I'll get people who will tell me that the comment from the buyer's agent was that the pictures looked better than the house. I'll have that often.
Sorry.
And I don't
it's like,
know.
I did a good job then, huh?
I would rather that than the other way, because if it's the other way, you're not even really getting them to the house.
Yeah,
Exactly.
you're doing your best job you can to capture a home. Like, you can't tell everything in the picture. That's why you set up a showing.
Right.
And you're not gonna, like, you can't find a way to, like, accurately represent it. They're either gonna be good photos or they're not.
And people say it in such a negative way, and I don't think it's negative. Like, it's not like we're trying to hide something.
Yeah,
like, I
like,
want the pictures to look amazing, because I want you to come see it.
And and you want the whole picture in the room, so you got to use a wide angle lens. That doesn't mean we're using a fisheye lens. And I personally haven't even seen that in years anyways. I think people finally understood that doesn't help.
Yeah, well, before we go on further, I want to touch on what Brooke was talking about how in today's world where our attention span is so low. Like, where we are very quick. If we're not entertained,
especially TikTok.
Yes, if we're not entertained, we are
just got
moving
trained
on
in
to the
COVID.
next thing. And so, just a little tip out there for agents: when you are putting your pictures on, even you could have Elizabeth's pictures and have the best pictures that you could possibly have for that house, and you could still lose interest from buyers coming to and wanting to schedule showings because of the order that you put them in.
Yes.
And a lot of people will use all 50 slots for pictures, which is why we don't want to do this. But, like, let's say, the living room is a really good room, and you want to showcase that. Well, then you have to put the front of the house in the MLS first. Has to be the front, right? But then as soon as you go, you got to do the next best picture of the house. But then don't
front of the house, living room.
That's what I was going to get to, is even if you don't do that, go to the living room or the primary master bedroom. I said both. The primary bathroom is what I wanted to say, or the primary
that's the
bedroom.
ensuite.
The what?
The ensuite.
The ensuite. Yeah, but whichever one you're going to showcase next, I see people do like 5 different angles of that room, and it's like you're going to lose people's attention span really quickly, and they're not going to get to the next best room.
I don't know if sellers would really go for this, but I think in a perfect world, you should only have 5 pictures. Reason being is because Realtor.com shows the first 5 photos of your listing. So that's why.
I feel like Zillow's starting to do that too.
Okay, and there's a bunch of websites out there that do those kinds of things. Or if you use like list reports or something like that, you only have 3 options. So get really good
Lofties like that too, or
so
CRM.
get really good pictures like that.
And they're going to choose, like, the first 5 photos are the ones that are going to be showcased. So don't make them the same
and you
5
have
pictures.
to tell your sellers why you're doing it, because if you don't, they're gonna
people do
blow
get
you
upset.
up going, why are the pictures all out of order? But if you just told them up front, like, hey, look, we want to showcase the 5 best photos. So
Here's why.
front of the house, your living room, that's awesome with the vaulted ceilings and the beautiful windows, and then
Set
your primary
expectations.
bedroom and ensuite, and then your backyard. Those are the pictures that the
Wait, is the bathroom called the ensuite for real? Is that what
Yeah,
it is
bro.
now?
It's always been that.
Welcome to real estate.
Man, like
You don't have to use that term.
I know.
You've sold plenty of real estate
I
without
know.
it, obviously.
Yeah, you don't need to know any terms to sell real estate. I'll
No.
be honest with you. You don't even need to know anything about real estate.
There's
to sell
that
real
one
estate.
realtor that wore a jumpsuit, a prison jumpsuit in his home when he was doing a listing presentation, and he basically treated it like it was a prison.
Yeah.
He's like, "This is the mess hall, so when you get out of your prison, your bedroom, this is where you congregate and
Yeah.
eat your meal."
That's
Dude,
funny.
it was hilarious.
I had never heard it called that, because it's always been the master bathroom.
Yeah,
You know. But anyways, continue. Were you done?
I think so. 5 pictures.
5 pictures. Get the best 5 pictures. Set expectations. I was going to say something on the setting expectations part, but I got lost.
Yeah,
with
good communication with your client makes a huge difference, because letting them know as much as they can ahead of time, then they're not surprised. Then they're not feeling, well, because also, Gacy, you taught me that the number one thing that sells a house is first price. And because of all the parameters that someone has, they have that scale, nothing over 400, but nothing under 200. Well, if you're 405, guess what? Your house doesn't exist.
Yep.
So being smart about where you price is really important. And then second is pictures, and third is really location. And
Yep.
I would say the third is location. It used to be location, location, location. But in Oklahoma City, a commute might be 15 minutes.
Yeah.
If you're going from Edmond to, say, Tinker, you're looking at maybe 40 minutes. But that in the rest of the U.S. is nothing.
Right.
So look, and with having open enrollment for our schools where you can enroll your kid in any school district you want if there's room there, that changed also the whole school being in a particular neighborhood situation.
Yeah.
So I agree. I feel like first is pricing. That's how your home even pops up, and then pictures.
Yeah, I mean, because location, you can't change it unless
No.
it's a mobile home, which then we're not talking about real estate.
Yeah.
And then the location, though, to me, it's already in the price.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, price and condition is what we say. A house will always sell when price meets condition, and the best way to showcase the condition is
Photos.
pictures.
Yeah, and I think right now, I mean, there are so many houses that, like, even I've been listing, and it's like 2 weeks goes by, and I'm like, did I submit this listing? Because no one's asked anything about it, but I know it's not my photography, you know?
Yeah.
And so,
How do you know that?
oh,
I'm
yeah.
just kidding.
because I know experience, but it's like, you know, so in these days, it's even more important to have good photos. But I would say, like we talked about earlier, consistency over the years is most important.
Well, you know,
I'm picking up a $2 million commercial listing because which I'll hire you for.
why don't you brag about it a little bit?
Well, I mean, we
for
got to
you.
sell
That's
it.
awesome.
It doesn't matter until we sell it.
That's commercial, so
Yeah.
you may get paid in 4
It's
years.
commercial and residential. So Mike and I are tag teaming it, but they just took one photo of the front of the building, and that was it, and put it on their commercial website.
And when they were trying to sell it on their own, I guess.
No, this is the commercial agents that they hire that they refer to.
I see. Okay, and that's not what you guys are gonna do.
No.
Yeah, no. Okay, good. I do want to say I appreciate Elizabeth in the fact that she's even talking about it here today, is that like that she learns from Casey and Brooke and the agents that you know hire her, and she actually does what they want. There's so many photographers and vendors in particular that their ego or their pride and how they believe things need to be done.
they're an
and
artist.
They're the expert or whatever, which
I
in that
get.
field they are.
Yeah, 100%.
But if there's a certain way that you know we want it to be, then as the person that's being hired, you should do your best to give that product to them. Give,
And if
give
not,
your
tell me it's
input.
crazy, and then I'll be like, okay, well, you're right.
Yeah, give your input and recommendation as to why maybe you should reconsider it. But I do appreciate that that you listen and that you say you learn from the things that Casey and Brooke say and other agents, and that you're actually letting them be creative to kind of sell the story or the emotions or the pictures that they want to sell.
Well, she helps with that on pricing in her website too, because a lot of companies want to know the square footage, which to her it's irrelevant because she charges on how many photos you want.
Yeah.
So if you want 10 to 15 photos, the square footage is irrelevant.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
But on other websites, you can't get around that.
Yeah.
And you don't have as many options. So I like that part of it too. So if you are an agent who wants 56 pictures, she has a package for that.
Yeah, but I don't recommend it.
So there you go.
I mean, I honestly don't recommend it because there is a psychology to the buyer, and a buyer's not going to see 9 angles of the kitchen sink.
Yeah.
It's
running water.
exhausting.
The toilet seat.
It's bidets. That's been the kind of the new thing is like, well, my client really wants to have a picture of the bidet because they upgraded it.
Think
And it
of
was
how
really
clean your ass can
expensive.
be.
And I'm
Gee,
thinking,
thank you for the
it's still a
picture.
toilet. It's still a toilet. Do we really want to photograph a toilet?
Everyone
I feel
knows
like
what
that's
happens
better.
there.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's better for the showing because a photograph is not going to show it quite as well as a showing.
They're
will.
not wrong. I had a showing yesterday, and they got so excited because they had a beignet in there, whatever.
A beignet.
Whatever.
I don't,
Pastry.
but I don't want to use your bidet.
Well,
Right.
no,
Like,
yeah,
I
that
don't
just
want that in
yeah,
my
it's
life.
just it just grosses me out. We can have a whole podcast on it.
Yeah.
Well.
So at our next listing, I want you to take a picture of the water flushing.
No.
A video. You need a video.
Only
This is
if
where I
it goes
get to-
right.
This is where I get to insert creative authority, and I'm going to say no.
Okay, fine. I'll listen.
Well, really, unless you guys have anything else, next thing I have on here is maybe common mistakes to avoid.
Sure.
We're just talking about some of them.
Yeah.
Like certain pictures that you take.
Like CPAPs.
Yeah, and toilets, and I'll say this: a house, a three bed, 2 bed house, a 4 bed, two bath, a 4 bed, 3 bath, whatever. Okay, you have the primary room, and then you have your other rooms. Okay. Most of the time, what I recommend, anyways, is to keep the picture count low. Most of those secondary bedrooms, they look pretty similar, the same. If they don't, pick the best one, take a picture of that, and that's all you need. You don't need to take pictures of every single room.
That's what the floor plan's for.
Well, the floor plan, but also that's also to get them to the house, right? You want to get if they want to know what the other bedrooms look like, the only way for them to find out is to schedule a showing.
I did have an agent recently call me about a listing that I didn't put one of the 4 bedrooms on because it was not attractive. And she called me. She's like, "Is this a true 4 bedroom? Because you don't have the pictures on there." And I'm like, "Well, did you look at the floor plan?" She's like, "Oh, I didn't get that far." I'm like, "Do your damn diligence, please."
Yeah. Well, but you know how agents are. They
I
don't
know.
do that. I just be like, well, have you scheduled a showing?
Yeah.
Go look at it.
Well, she
Tell me for
didn't
yourself.
want to schedule until she knew if it was a true 4 bedroom because she'd been showing them houses that had the tiny little office. With
I mean,
the,
I get it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But again,
but look at
The floor plan.
I don't have that many pictures. It wouldn't take you that long to scroll through.
Get to the floor
True,
plan
because
Yeah.
of your philosophy. Well,
Right.
and
Yeah.
that's one of the things that I feel like for the people who get the comments from the buyer's agents, I think for the buyer's agents, maybe sometimes why they say, well, the pictures looked better online than the houses in person, is because they feel like they wasted their time or maybe they looked bad to their clients. But that's where I say, well, then the floor plan covers that because
Yeah.
it has the dimensions on there. If they felt like this master bedroom was a 20 by 30 from the picture, but in reality it's a 15 by 12, well, but that was in the floor plan. So that's kind of what I feel like. I love the floor plan anyway. I think it's amazing. I believe in it, but
Made me love it now.
I'm glad. Well, I think you had help in that one with your partners. So
Did
No.
you used to not like it?
No, because I didn't want to show everything.
Well, that's kind of how I am. Like, I don't. You guys might have to convince me to love the floor plan. If someone asked for it, I would. But like, I want them to.
For me, is like knowing. I like to try to give as much when I put up a listing. Like it's all about, I'm trying to save time. So the more stuff I can put on a listing where people ask me less questions. I mean, you're still going to have those one-off agents that didn't take the time to just look everything through before they just ask questions. But if I can,
How old's the roof? It's like it's on the disclosure.
It's on the disclosures, right? I'm about to make my own disclosures.
Even if it says
HVAC
unknown,
date,
even if it
just so
says
you know.
unknown, they'll ask you, and it's like they don't know. So they don't know.
But still, so the more stuff on there that I can have, and so like I feel like that's where the floor plan comes in handy. Like they can exactly see it and whatever else. Like my new construction one, like knowing that the master's downstairs, like or upstairs. Sorry, most people don't like the master upstairs. I want people to kind of know that right away.
Well, I'm not putting that floor plan on.
And in my experience, I didn't get very many questions like that, and I also want the questions in the calls because I want to be able to sell the house.
Especially if it's a potential buyer.
Right. I want to be able to talk them through it, and if they have questions, then I can find out like, well, what are you looking for? What do you like? What do you not like? And then I have an opportunity.
Well, for buyers,
to do that.
but for agents,
even for agents, you want to me, it's like the agent is going to be talking to their client about your house, and I want to shape the narrative that they're going to share with their buyer, and it's just an opportunity to represent your seller and do the best that you can to sell the house. Again, that's just my opinion.
Well, I agree, but I'm talking more like specifics, like which way the house is facing. Like, is that fourth bedroom? Like, is it a true fourth bedroom?
But again, my same thing. But it's an opportunity to talk to them on the phone and to gauge interest. Like, I don't care what the question is. If they're interested in the house at all, I want to talk. I personally want to talk to them.
Sorry.
Well, no, I was going to say about the floor plan too. Like, I don't mind like the floor plan overlay, but like, I don't want the pictures. I don't want people to be able to figure out the floor plan from the pictures. So like, I'm like, that's how crazy I am about it. Like, if you can, when I'm trying to pick which the best pictures are, if I'm trying to decide between two pictures of the living room and one of the pictures of the living room,
you can see
shows the hallway or where the door is
or the bed. You can see the bed from the kitchen.
Then I don't do that one because I want to reveal as little as I can, but as much as I can.
Because they're going to say something like, "Oh man, I don't want my bedroom to be right off the living room."
But if they get there, they might make an exception.
They may not even care at all or think about it then.
Right.
And it's if you have a historic home, and which is common to have all the bedrooms upstairs, and if you announce that all the bedrooms are upstairs, well, then they're not going to come see it. But if they came and saw it, and it's got all the bedrooms upstairs and it faces west, but they come look at it on a cloudy day whenever it's not real hot, and they walk in that house and they can feel the history and that character of that home, they're buying it.
Well, and they're in the area. They like once you go to the house, you get a feel for the neighborhood.
Maybe there's tall trees that are on the west side that help shade it. But if you just advertise it's on the west, and I understand that because I don't want to buy a house that's west. But you know what? If that's my preference, I'm going to, when my realtor sends me houses, I'm going to pull it up on the map and I'm going to look for that personally because that's something I don't ever want.
Yeah,
personally.
But I would also say too, like, because all that little stuff matters, but I still want. I love that Elizabeth does the floor plan, and I still want it.
Yeah.
Because then it gives me something that when they do call me, so for me, instead, I wouldn't post it on my pictures. I would send it to them once they call me with questions.
Yeah.
And then I'd say, let me send you the floor plan. And it makes me look like I'm going above and beyond, like providing an extra service or like, just doing something for them that I don't have to do. And that most agents probably would just field the call or not answer the phone and just say, sell my house for me if you want or don't if you don't.
Yeah.
And that's the
It'll
attitude.
sell. Will it?
Yeah, right.
You sure?
So I don't want to contradict in any way,
I
shape, or
think
form.
good other
But one of
opinions are
the
great
things that
for our audience too.
Well, so from your perspective as a listing agent, everything you're saying is 100%. from the perspective of the person who is actually having their house sold, to be able to receive things like really nice pictures, because again, visual, really nice pictures. And when your client is like, and my agent, they sent me a whole floor plan of my house, you have to check this out. And they're sharing it and sharing it and sharing it. Referrals are huge.
Yeah.
And so if they're thinking that you as their agent is going above and beyond right off the get-go by sending amazing photos and doing, like, sometimes drone photos are necessary. So drone photos, and also doing a floor plan, because almost no one does a floor plan.
Nobody does. So I
Then
think it's great. Yeah.
Then your client is like, holy cow, my agent's amazing. You have to look at these. And who did you use? And so for a referral basis, I think as much as you can do to it kind of shows you off a little bit.
Yeah.
But why not? Because that's what you are in a competition of, what, like 6,000 other people in
Oh,
Oklahoma
yeah,
City.
you
I
gotta
don't think
separate
there's really a
yourself.
right or wrong way. I think it's just your
Preference.
style.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
because
Style.
because like I think we're all right, to be quite
Oh,
honest.
yeah.
There's no
We're all-
contradicting
It-
either
yeah,
way
it
or
always
whatever.
depends.
It just depends, right? So because for me, I still want my time. I don't want to have to field all those calls. If I can give them the information, the little things, I can see how sometimes a floor plan, like 4 bedrooms, maybe I do want those emotional calls where I can help field those and go the extra mile. But I still want to put as much as I possibly can, but still hide it, like you said, Curtis. You said, well, give as much as possible, but still, what did you say? Like, give as much as possible, but still, like hide a little bit still.
Leave mystery still. I mean,
Yeah, like still
yeah,
leave a little
it-
questions, make it a little mysterious.
It's just preference, and I from my own experience, I know the amount of sign calls that I get is not sucking up all my time. Now, listen, you got 50 listings at one point. Maybe we need to have a conversation about
Probably just need an assistant.
Yeah. But I mean, now you're doing something good. Yeah, if you got
Yeah.
50 listings, I mean, to me, I've always been like, communication is so important in everything we do, not just business, but in life, in marriage, in friendships, in everything. And so, we talk about setting expectations a lot too, but then when it comes to selling, communication is everything. And so face to face is always the best, but in this business, we don't get to do a lot of that. And the way the world is going, and eventually I won't be able to say this as much because the next generation is growing up behind a phone and a computer screen. They're going to own the houses in the marketplace, and they're going to want to communicate via text. But right now, they don't own the majority of the real estate in the country. And I think that having a phone conversation is the next best form of communication.
Absolutely.
Because it gives you the opportunity to
People
to
assume
sell,
too much. People
Yeah.
just start assuming, and even real estate agents. It's not just clients, right? I have a few deals right now with agents, and I'm like, I can tell that they're putting their emotions on their client
Yep.
with the negotiations,
Yep.
and you just can't do that.
I will be that old agent that you can't teach new tricks when it comes to phone conversations. I can just tell you that. Like,
No, I think that's
some
the
things
best
never
way.
change.
you'll set yourself apart. Like, we just had I had a FSBO appointment with one of my directs last week, and the seller said, word for word, said, I have had hundreds of agents reach out to me. Only you guys and a couple other people are the only ones that called and came to my house. Everybody else is texting me, and I ignore every single text because it's not personable. It's not hard to pick up the phone.
Very encouraging to hear.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it
Because
is,
that's only
yeah.
going to get worse.
Well, you're only again, you got to remember, if you are one of 100 people texting versus one of 4 or 5 people that are calling and taking the time to go in person, then you have a much better chance of being remembered, right? You're in a crowd of 100 agents, like, good luck. I hope that you said something very impactful and meaningful in that text message, right? I mean,
Yeah.
So I just, it's so important to just not be afraid to pick up the phone. I get it's intimidating. I get it's extra work. It's a mindset for sure, but just get in the habit of picking up the phone, calling people. I know it has nothing to do with photographs, but real estate tips.
Well,
here.
I think it is.
something that's really cool about good photographs that make it worth it in the end too is the house that we shot on 19th Street. With the cool windows and everything. That was this guy's, my friend's. It was his first house that he'd ever bought, and he's probably owned it for over 20 years. And he lived there for a long time, like in his early 20s. That was basically the party house. So that's where him and his friends did all their drinking, hanging out, watching OU games, grilling out, just spending tons of time together. He told me, he's like, I'm gonna be sad actually losing this property, but I need the money for the build we're doing. And so what I did was I just got on Canva and I made him a book. And then put the address on the front, and then there's blank pages, so that I wrote him a note in there, and has Bricks Realty on it, and then basically just saying, hey, hopefully now you can remember these or have these memories forever.
Did you go pull pictures from like social media and stuff of him at the house?
No, I didn't do that. He's
Okay.
not big on social, but I used the listing photos.
Okay,
Yeah, and so
That's pretty special.
So they
Yeah,
text
that's
me and they're
cool.
like, "This was really cool." It is $20.
I love Canva.
But
You
it
know?
creates a legacy.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that honestly I do every time I go in, like every time I wake up in the morning, is I think to myself when I have a photo shoot, today I could be changing someone's life.
Yeah.
And like that, I listened to your mindset podcast. I feel like if more people, especially in your guys' industry where you're working with people, this is the largest investment that they've ever made in their life. Now they're going to be exchanging it because of a transition, whether they're moving to a new place or a job or whatever's happening. How quickly their house sells is a huge part on where they're going to be relocating to, because maybe they found a house or they have a contract already on a house, but it's dependent on their house selling. All the scenarios that happens in real estate. But when good photos has the potential to be able to make everything happen faster, you've changed somebody's life.
Yeah.
And so that's how I wake up every morning, is that today is the day I might change somebody's life for the
Love
better.
it.
That's
I
really
love
cool.
it. Love that
'Cause
mindset.
There really is a science to it. Like,
Yeah.
honestly, like you got to look at all the data and think about their emotional situation where they're at.
Right.
And really, I always say it's a giant puzzle. And you got to take all the pieces and put it together and try to make it a win-win for everybody, right? Including yourself, your vendors, everyone involved. And if you can do that, then you're going to have referrals left and right after that.
Well, and I'm not going to make that book for everyone. I got a listing right now and it says I am not making that book because there's bad memories in this home. So it's not something I want to send them
Yeah.
away with.
Right.
But some guys, they may not want to. Why would I get them a Cutco knife when they don't cook?
Right.
So
Yeah.
there's not, everyone's like, what's a good closing gift? It's like, well, tell me like everything about your client.
Right.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
what do you know?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Some people that are moving, $100 gift card to Home Depot is like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
You know?
sometimes those are the people that you just don't know what to get, and then you get them $100.
Well, they need something.
Yes,
You
yes.
know, at Home Depot. They're going to need some picture hangers or some paint. Drink it.
Yeah, good. I was like, oh man,
It's
got my
disappointing.
heart
It's
rate
gone.
going. Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah.
Well, I appreciate Elizabeth being here and what you do for our company, because it's very, very important. And I'm so glad that we have somebody that, from a leadership perspective, that we all like and can tell our agents to use without even, like, when someone asks, who do we use for photography? Like, there is no hesitation. There's no, like, I don't even have to prep them and set expectations with our agents, because I know that you've even mentioned it here today, that you know how we like things and what we teach our agents to do and things like that. And so it's just refreshing to have a vendor
Yes.
that we trust as much as we trust you.
And if you get a complaint, if someone gives us a complaint about you or one of our other trusted vendors, we can go, something ain't right.
yeah.
Like,
what did
so-
you do wrong?
Yeah, right. So it's like, she didn't respond. Okay, well, when was the last time you texted her? Like an hour ago? Bro, you need to chill.
Yeah.
So it's like, instead of just being like, because usually if we don't know the vendors, it's like, well, dude, I don't even know who you're talking about. So
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
quit complaining to
Or
me,
can I
call the
reach out
person,
to
work
them?
it out.
So,
Yeah.
I hear that Elizabeth has a pretty good would you rather.
I do.
All right.
I do. So next Thursday is my birthday.
Ooh.
I was a kid of the 80s.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. I was a kid of the 80s, and I grew up in the early 90s. Like, I graduated high school in the early 90s, but I grew up in the 80s, graduated high school in 93. So I thought it would be fun to kind of do an old school throwback to a Would You Rather. So, would you rather, and I even brought little
What?
options.
Oh gosh.
Oh my gosh.
So,
Well, you better watch us on YouTube now.
Yeah.
would you rather give up streaming music for cassette tapes?
Okay.
Ooh.
Or give up streaming
Movies.
movies and shows for VHS tapes?
I would rather give up music for cassette tapes. I just there's too much I watch that it'd be
To have
hard.
all the
It's
VHS tapes,
the,
like-
the access to videos and movies and the ease and how comfortable it is, like it would be too hard to give it up for me.
This is
for
a
me.
good one because
For you, I feel like
I
it's
like
hard.
film and music.
Yeah.
And so, but I do think I do well. I don't know. I can't give up streaming music because I have to learn a bunch of songs all the time, and I need access quickly, and so that's very helpful. So I have to choose that.
Okay.
Can't give up streaming music.
The hard part about giving
and I don't
giving
need to be
up-
watching TV anyway.
The hard part about giving up streaming music for cassette tapes would be I like being able to like
You got rid of your cassette tape collection already?
Yeah,
I was
that's
like-
the hard part. And my cassette player.
It's gone.
It would be like the order that you can like play it in. You have to listen from beginning to end, or fast forward and rewind takes forever. But then learning like podcasts and things like that, like that would be the hardest part about it. But you know, with my family and my kids, the entertainment, like for
Yeah.
that, like it's too much.
Oh, man.
I
I want to
remember-
give up all streaming and go back to those.
I remember that'd be okay too.
I was like, you're gonna be mad because I can't pick because I just want to give them both up and do
remember
it.
getting-
Surprise.
I remember
Wait,
getting
no,
that-
it's like, would you rather have streaming or this? And it's like, I choose this.
There you go.
Yeah, and then you can control your money a little better because it's like that's in the budget. Or it's
Well,
not.
if I like something, I just always watch it, or I always listen to it all the time. I do it with music, I do it with movies, and
Yeah.
like I don't like to collect a lot of things because I don't like clutter, but there are certain things that I like to collect.
That's how it used
like
to be.
books and movies, and it's funny because I actually found my old CDs the other day, and I talked about it with my
Mine are
wife
still
this
hanging
morning.
out. I still have mine displayed.
Oh, I love all my old CDs. I used to make all the old mixes and stuff. Like I was the
Yeah.
CD mixer burner
You know,
and
it's
killed my
interesting.
parents' computer with LimeWire.
Yeah, I'm with you though. I would give it all up because like my neighbors' kids, they're singing a Taylor Swift song, and I said, I'm curious. Do you guys have Spotify? They're like, what was that? I'm like, okay. Do you listen to Apple Music? They're like, no. I'm like, so how do you know the lyrics to that song? They said it's on TikTok. And then
Oh.
another neighbor kid, he's gotten into Metallica because of TikTok. And I'm just like, what the hell? Like back in the day,
I knew it was coming.
what you would do is your favorite band would come out with an album, and you wanted to hear every song from start to finish.
Oh, we've had
and
this
you had to push
conversation.
that in, and that's all you even had to listen to.
Yeah.
Because it's what you had. And then even in the 60s, like you'd have the double-sided, like 2 songs. And those kids, when they put the Beatles, the 2 songs on that EP, they listened to that for like, well, until the next EP came out.
Yeah.
They listened to it every day, so they knew every word. They were super connected. Now, they don't even know who Taylor Swift is. They just know that there was a song on TikTok. And to me, that's super lame.
Yes.
I mean,
no,
it's-
I agree. I
But
agree.
I'm also, I guess I'm old now.
Yeah, I was like,
you are.
dang, now I
Welcome
guess
to the
I'm really
club.
old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I remember as a child getting VHS tape stuck in the thing sideways, like crooked.
Oh, yes.
I'm like, oh my God, my parents are going to kill me.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
looking back, it's like, it was just a VHS
Well,
tape.
do you remember with cassette tapes? This one's doesn't have
melt.
it, but with the cassette tape, well, yeah, and the little pencil to wind it back up. But also,
yeah.
like if
I
you
never had
wanted,
that. I'd do that with my finger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, if you had to, if you wanted to know the lyrics to the song, it had the folded out, so you would,
Yes.
Yes.
like almost a magnifying
Yeah.
I was
glass.
mad. They didn't always do that. Like,
didn't.
because I would open it, and then if they didn't have it, I would be so mad because, like, what did they say in that?
You couldn't
lyric?
get
I
on the
can't
internet and
understand.
look up the
You
lyrics.
couldn't. You
No.
couldn't.
Yeah.
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 Man.
It made it more special, though, honestly.
I mean,
And
Yeah.
I just worked harder.
Yeah.
We just worked harder.
put
You
more
didn't get to
effort
have
into
a button to push and whatever popped up. You actually had to go after and look at it.
You know,
and
we
read
say
it
that,
and listen
and then
rewind.
our parents of their generation would say they worked harder
Oh,
with,
way
and they
harder.
and they
Yes.
did
Way
because things are
harder.
just
Just
getting
wait
easier
until-
and easier. Just
yeah.
wait, like I mean,
Well,
I don't even want to know.
Before recording, if you wanted music, you either had to do it yourself or you had to hire someone to come into your little party or whatever, just to even have music.
Yeah.
Period.
Oh yeah,
Pretty
like a whole
wild.
band.
I was watching WWF randomly.
I bet you were.
Yesterday, I don't even know how it just came on the TV, and then Brittany and I were just like eating dinner, and we just like, I was like, why are we so sucked into it? It was so terrible. And so then we got on YouTube and we looked up The Rock and Stone Cold
Yes.
Steve Austin,
Man, those are the
and
days.
seeing how they did it, and I was just like, and then we just started thinking about like how crazy is it because everyone like loved that so much, and everyone was like, I remember being like so into it, and, like they were actually fighting, and now we have like real MMA stuff, and they have like cauliflower ear and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just crazy how it's just crazy like how exciting that was and how real it felt. But now it's like, it's so fake now, really.
I have a little bit of cauliflower ear.
Why?
I don't know. I've never wrestled a day in my life.
You should probably.
They're just
That's
like, that's
funny.
weird that you have that. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe it's,
It's
just from
still
sleeping
like
on it.
it's still entertaining. I mean,
I'm gonna, like, look
it's
at your ear now.
huge Still.
Oh,
it's
it's
still
still as
huge.
big
Oh,
as
it
it's
is,
always
it
been.
is.
And Jonah has started to get into it, but he's more into the older stuff, the stuff.
Yeah, because it looks
Oh,
more
so
real.
good.
That
Yeah,
was what we were saying. Because
Yeah.
I was like, it was funny watching The Rock, and he's just so young
I know.
and stuff, and just like throwing his head back and stuff. But I
I
was
remember.
like, it still looked fake. But I was like, at least this
Yeah.
looks way more real than what they were doing. Because they still like hit them with like
Yeah,
a
they
metal
do.
chair
There's a certain-
and
there's a certain,
stuff.
like angles they do to make it not as bad. But I remember
Yeah.
when The Rock left to go to movies, and I was so sad. Like,
Yes.
like this is so fun having you part of this. Like, why would you leave? You're going to be a horrible actor. You're not going to make any movies. You know?
Yeah, and now he's
He's
just
one
a
of my
badass.
favorites.
Yeah, he's a big, like, it took, if you remember, like the Scorpion King was like one of the first ones he did.
Yeah.
And I remember him getting a lot of criticism for his acting not being good, but that just goes to show, like, I mean, he really worked to
Yeah.
get to
Well,
where
there's
he
a
is.
lot. I didn't realize how many like old wrestlers are now movie stars.
Yeah,
like
that-
really big movie
he
stars.
paved the
It was
way.
showbiz. It's always been showbiz.
Yeah, it
But
makes sense. It's
paved the way
acting.
for that because he was one of the first to break into it, and now that like John Cena and all the other guys are now getting into it.
Yeah.
So
Anyways.
Cassette tapes to wrestling.
I know.
There you
I
go.
know. The
So
web
my
we
random
weave.
random dinner stop with
you
my wife.
You brought us some nostalgia. We went way back.
Yeah.
we did.
You did a great one.
Yes, thank you, and thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Well, as we come to an end, please like this video, comment on it, subscribe. We need at least 1,000 subscribers, I read, to even start to monetize this channel, and over 400 hours of listening. So just listen to it,
Just put it on
20 times.
play. Yeah, just
put it on play.
Just put it in the background. You don't
know
have to
you're
listen
doing
to
that.
us.
They know you're doing that. It's
No,
a
just
very
kidding.
smart learning machine.
And
So
make sure that we'll put Elizabeth's information, if she's cool with it, in the description
Yep.
for you guys to hire her. But don't hire her for very much. Like, if you take her from us,
if I start looking at her calendar's empty,
No, she's just a smart
Well, we're gonna-
businesswoman, and she's going to hire somebody else to
There
take
you
care
go.
of
that's what I
those
say.
people.
What we have to do is get her another photographer.
Train him up.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, guys, we're signing off. I'm Casey Tudor. This is Curtis Haddock, Brooke Massey, and Elizabeth Hansen with Eliora Media, and this is the Open Book Podcast.